Grendel is doing better. Yeah, we're doing well. Back again. This time I told you I was going to do a documentary film review. It's kind of a documentary. We'll get into this. When I reviewed Sisters with Transistors a bit ago, maybe a few days after that, I stumbled across yet another film, and this one is much easier to get a hold of, thank God, because I really hate reviewing stuff that's harder for people to get a hold of. I think you should be able to... Why review something that's difficult to get? It just doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, enough wandering around. The one I want to talk about today is Delia, Derbyshire, The Myths and the Legendary Tapes. And the wonderful thing is you can get this on archive.org. Look in the description box below and I'll put a link to it. I love archive.org. You're able to get so many great things through them. It's amazing. It's like if UbuWeb had casting ability on it, it would be wonderful. So this is a fairly recent film too. I believe it's from 2020, 2021. It depends on which site you look at, IMDb, and others have different ideas. What really drew me into this, besides Delia, which if you seen my Sisters with Transistors review, I'll link that at the end. You know how much I absolutely adore Delia Derbyshire. Everyone does. I think that's a given. This also has Cozy Fanny Tootie, who, long-time Throbbing Gristle fan from the 80s on. And just everything she's done. And her, and, doing Chris and Carter, it's just, her and Chris Carter, rambling here. I love everything about them. I love their relationship. I love their music. They're inspiring all the way around. But Cozy was pulled into this project in order to take tapes that had been found after Delia's death in 2001. She had something like, I believe it was 267 tapes that were stuffed into cereal boxes in her attic. And they were at Manchester University for a while. And the director and actor on this film, Carolyn Katz, who, from what I've gathered, became obsessed with Delia, got access to the archives, and decided to create this, I don't want to call it a documentary, but it's not a biopic. It's this beautiful merging of the two that I really love. And I was trying to figure out a way to describe it, and I recognize Carolyn Katz, but I wasn't quite sure. Or Carolina, I should fix up the pronunciation there. And I just couldn't put my finger on it, so I went to the Stoner's Best Friend, IMDb, looked it up, and it said that she was in Peter Strickland's In Fabric, which is probably where I recognized her from, because it appears that the majority of her other work is like the British police procedural shows, which, if I'm going for that thing, I'm probably going to go Scandi Noir, and they just have the grimness. But, anyways, this does a beautiful job of capturing an image of Delia, because we'll never fully know a person. I mean, that people always talk about cosmic horror, and I believe the true cosmic horror is even your beloved, you do not truly know everything about them. There's that Hegelian dialectic, everything is the truth, but it's just there. So this is a beautiful way to kind of present a picture of an imaginal figure, which has become Delia Derbyshire through her work and her influence. So the film covers Delia being born in Coventry. She talks about, as I mentioned in the review of Sisters with Transistors, her fascination with abstract sound, which she pinpoints to the sound of air raid silence, because you could not place where that sound was coming from. And then the all clear alarm, she calls it abstract music. And let me just interrupt to say, Delia Derbyshire saying the radio. Oh, it's the best thing ever. That's like ASMR for me. I didn't believe in it until I figured out how to make oscillators purr, and Delia saying the radio. Just gorgeous. So, I watched the movie once, then I went and read Cozy Fanny Tootie's Art, Sex, Music again, because I know she has a new book coming out. I believe it just came out today. I should be getting it soon then. But I absolutely loved Art Sex Music when I first read it. What a great chance to go back and reread it. I was even more impressed when I went back. And then her being shown within the film itself, going out to record the Foley sounds and walk around Coventry, doing field recording. And she has this great sequence where she talks about musique concrete. What if the stones and the concrete could retain sound, kind of a Stone Tapes kind of idea there. And, then she's taken these sounds and the sounds from Delia's lost tapes, I don't know what you would call them, manipulating those. So this film is staged almost like a play. There's sequences where it's very minimal sets. A lot of this is left up to the imagination, which is a strength of this film. And that tie to Peter Strickland, I think, is very evident within the film because it has that same kind of quality. Like, if you like Peter Strickland's films, and especially like Barbarian Sound Studio, you will love this even if you're not interested in Delia, Derbyshire. It's just so great. And Caroline, I apologize if I'm screwing that up. My sister-in-law's name is Caroline. You think I would be able to nail that? She nails it as Delia. I mean, she just has a poise to it that I really enjoyed. And so they're doing interviews with people like Brian Hodgson in real life. They have an actor playing Brian Hodgson. They flip back and forth between this minimalist set that allows you to fill in the details, but they also have like these pieces of equipment that fill in there for you, like the tape editing block. I'm old enough, I grew up, my dad had 2 reel-to-reel tape recorders, and I remember using the editing block with the razor blade, to cut tape and that type of thing. And it just has that feel to it. I mean, at one point they even talk about when Delia is making blue waves and shifting sands. Talk about that in Sisters with Transistors. She used square waves, rolled off all the bass frequencies to get that kind of great sound. And then she had this tatty green lampshade that she found in the BBC studios that she fell in love with the sound with. And I'm not sure if it's the actual lampshade that they're using here, but it works. It's so good. I mean, it's just, I absolutely adored it. And then there's these beautiful sequences, like the one that I really loved. I'll call it a dream sequence. I'm not sure what to call it, but they have a portrait of Mary Wollstonecraft, and then they have a portrait of Ada Lovelace, and it's Delia talking to Mary Wollstonecraft and also talking to Ada Lovelace, which, yeah, that's to die for. Now, once again, I have to flip over because of, the high-tech teleprompter we got there, Sharpie and computer paper. So, it covers Delia being in radiophonic workshop, her problems with A, getting a job there, B, they're not allowed to call themselves composers or say they're working on music, and then C, just dealing with the fact this is a woman who had a mathematics degree, I believe from Cambridge, was trained as a musician, obviously freaking brilliant, and she's dealing with 60s and 70s workplace sexism, and condescension just in general for their role in the radiophonic workshop. It's just not a good combination. So, about 1973, I believe, she decides to leave the radiophonic workshop because she doesn't like the direction in which they're going. And here comes the interesting point to me that I really loved in this film. At this point, most people kind of go, oh, she fell into disrepair, yada, yada, yada. And what happened was, she got a job being a radio operator on a gas pipeline because Elle parle français, good on her. That's what you do. You find interesting things to do. She moved to Cumbria in northern England and pursued her own project. She got married briefly, divorced right after that, but then she goes to the LYC Museum, which was the museum created by Lee I'm going to screw this up. Lee Yon-chi, I believe is the pronunciation of his name, which is a great rabbit hole to fall down. Because, yeah, I'm now obsessed with the man. Because one of the abstract pioneers of I believe, the Chinese art scene, and he traveled forever. I'm going to have to find a biography of this man. But basically, he found a barn up in northern England, somehow repaired it, and turned it into like an art gallery in the middle of nowhere. And it sounds like Delia absolutely loved being there with all of these artists. So in 2011, they find a bunch of Delia's, like school books, drawings, different memorabilia. This was the other thing that attracted me to it, is that Caroline Katz and her crew are rebuilding a person from their ephemera. And as I've talked about before, is a former magician. It's a performing art. You don't have the actual records for our heroes like Robert Houdin and, all the great creators, but we have their ephemera. And that's where the French have been ahead of everyone else, of course. French. And examining this ephemera to kind of come to terms with the cultural impact of what was going on. And I can see the same process going on within this movie, which may be 1001 reasons why I love it. Of course, everybody knows it took a long time for Delia to be recognized for the genius she was. 2016, Coventry named a street after her. One of my favorite things, I don't want to give away too much of this film. I think you can get it at archive.org. Obviously a labor of love for everyone involved in it. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Go get it. You can torrent it off from their site. You can watch it on their site. But I really want to single out one moment, and I hope, I'm not giving away spoilers because we all know she died in 2001. Gonna give her verklempt there. But there's this beautiful part where Caroline Katz told you I was gonna give verklempt, playing Delia. And she's reading her own obituary and responding to what was written about her. And I loved it. I choked up, thought it was amazing, but I love this idea that she says in there of who designs the myth. And it's such a brilliant statement. It's such a wonderful conceit. I love this idea of Delia, Cozy, Caroline Katz, and these other great women, which I'm not sure. There's a scene they cut to a couple of times where it has stained glass windows of these icons of British women. And I was like, is this something that truly exists? Because it would be wonderful if it did. If it's something that the production designer came up with and they decided to do it, hats off to them because they're amazing. And let me just say this right now. I even wrote down the production designer, Felicity Hickson, because the production design on this just blew me away. If you're a fan of, as I said, Peter Strickland's films, I would say even Ben Wheatley, A Field in England, like, it's just, there's too many. Go look up Ben Wheatley if you don't know him. Look up Peter Strickland if you don't know him, because, those are wonderful rabbit holes to fall down. I would put this right up there with the works of both of them, and it's this brilliant. It's not a reimagining, it's not a documentary, I don't know what to call it. It exists in this space that it creates its own space to sit in. And yeah, I've watched it 3 times. Got me every time. I almost get verklempt talking about it. Love it so much. And yeah, thanks so much for putting up with me rambling. I can't believe you cats do it. Anyways, love y'all. Please go watch the movie. It deserves the biggest audience possible. And I do believe, like I said, Cozy's new book, which is talking about a Christian mystic, and I would butcher the name, so I'll just put the name down below. Her, Delia Derbyshire, and Cozy herself, and I think it's called Resistors. And as soon as I get my hand... Well, actually, I already told Andy I'm going to write a review for TQ, so... Yeah, subscribe to TQ, so... Andy deserves all the support. He's a wonderful person. Love y'all. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.